Doesn't have the Nox gas because he's already thrown that down. Tries to fly in to finish off some of these downs to just cause a few problems. But look at the kill feed as well. Fury and TSM involved in a fight as Mamba will be backing up here and managing to put that battery away. TSM now just reps on his own, but it looks like Dark Zero also involved in this fight. So all of our big dogs starting to fight as the zone starts to close.
It was always going to happen. It was inevitable with how close they all were and where this circle was pulling. Furia look the healthiest right now, though. There has been knocks elsewhere. Furia, I think, did lose one temporarily, but they're back to a full 3, and they are on the prowl. They are looking to try and punish either TSM or Dark Zero. I think Dark Zero maybe lost out more than anyone else in that big scrap, though. Unfortunate for them, but they were on the low ground. I think that's naturally going to happen when you're trying to fight uphill here.
Well, Verholst is going to be finished off, so TSM now down to 2, but...
Yeah, Dark Zero are the team under the bridge, and Fury looking to try and finish them off and take them out of this lobby, as Pandas doesn't miss a beat, and all he has to do is back away, get that initial damage. Does need a little bit of help. This could open things up for TSM, potentially, and maybe they'll look to try and pounce, but no, TSM get eliminated. Dark Zero also go down, but here comes the 4th, the 5th, the 6th party as Fury are trying to stay alive.
You can see the TSM are having a tough time getting inside of the zone, and that's because they're being held out at the moment by Dark Zero, the back-to-back LAN winners, holding out TSM, who have got a couple of LAN wins to their name, of course, over the years. How's going to make the move up, trying to do a little bit of scouting here. But Jim Burn's going to be holding that angle, and with a 301's going to do 84 damage, which is going to slow things down here for TSM. The worrying thing for TSM here is that even though they look like they have an isolated fight here, the longer this takes, there's a team called Cloud9 who are kind of hovering around the edge of zone, who might have heard this fight breaking out and might be able to move in and clean things up.
MLG, CLG, C9 like sharks in the water right now, waiting to come out and maybe feed on some players that are just going to be hovering, swimming, trying to desperately stay alive. But actually, all 3 teams are coming in at the same time to TSM. So TSM, it could go one of 2 ways, right? TSM might be able to pick them all off if they all approach at the same time and start fighting, as Tripods, unfortunately, are eliminated. The BR Demons showing what they can do in engagements once more.
Well, this is the good thing for TSM, obviously. They've got Sique, right? So that means that they have the ability to scan and make sure that they aren't going to be caught off guard. But that means Reps has got responsibility to do so. As now you're going to see C9 go up into the skies, but TSM send them back down to earth with a crash. I think there was multiple teams who might have been firing onto them, but that is not good news, as NRG also lose a couple of players. C9 eliminated at the hands of TSM, but also down to NRG getting involved as well.
But this could be the passage of death, because now TSM have to push up on the likes of NRG, the likes of DZ, who are all waiting. The zone is doing enough damage at the moment anyway. Reps and Hal fall. TSM eliminated. NRG also backs to the wall right now. Nathan, the last remaining player, he's going to get pushed. NRG go down as well. And 11 squads now remain as we see 2 of our big hitters taken out.
And 11 other squads in this lobby still. Look at the zone. It is far pulling for TSM and Atlanta Premier, and TSM wants to bite the bullet. Here comes the push on Atlanta Premier with high ground. AP is going to be tagged up for Holst. Doesn't have that in full information of where that individual is like we do, but he's going to come through and absolutely melt close right. TSM is absolutely putting every single members of Atlanta Premier in a chicken coop right now and connecting for 1 knock. Make it 2. Atlanta Premier will be getting taken out to the hands of TSM.
They will go down eventually here as they try and force their way through. Verholst will get the final damage done, you would imagine, to get the final kill. Atlanta Premier out, as you say. But you can also see the impact that Watson Gen had, just making that fight last a little bit longer than they wanted to. How trying to move up now as another team introduces themselves to the pie, but there's the controller man on his car. He's doing big damage, but can't get the finishes, and Verholst has gone down.
That's right. I love how Hal has played this. He's playing out of his mind, but it's not going to be enough. The Newcastle ultimate. Hal finds himself in a 1v1. It's a knockdown shield fight between Reps and Smiles, and Reps with 10 HP goes for the punch, needs to reload, and gets taken out. Sang is going to do it. Song over Reps in TSM. I don't know how TSM even was alive in that fight. They had no business winning it. Hal made insane plays, but it was not enough, as Song and Gambit alongside Blake are going to do it with the third party. They barely sneak out of that one.
Yeah,
That's right. As a result, well, you'll see G2 in our series results, and dead last with 0 points. They haven't had a chance to play much Apex, like you said. CLG right behind them. Complexity in 18th overall is actually shocking. But Cloud9 on top. They'll take the first place finish with a huge game right there. On the right side are the teams you'd expect to be on the left side. NRG, Team Liquid, TSM, Complexity, CLG, G2, and the likes. An interesting day of Apex Legends to start. Obviously, we're only halfway done. A lot of Apex to be played on set.
Let's see what bots are doing. And a little bit of a looting in and around Fragment, but this is the team that is very interesting to see running Fuse. And the reason they want to play it is because they love to be aggressive. They feel like Fuse is going to give them that artillery towards the end game as well. Also, like you say, you've got those extra grenades that you can hold in those slots. You've also got that ultimate, which really not only causes damage down, but it's such visual clutter. If you can isolate fights in around that ultimate, the Fuse is a problem for the lobby.
All I'm saying is if we get 2 fuses plus the catalyst in this final circle, then good luck casting the play-by-play, Mark, because you're not going to see much whatsoever, but I'm sure you'll still find a way. But I like this. I like this from TSM, going a little bit out of the box, but as you say, something they've tried and tested, something they believe in. A very aggressive composition, combining it with Horizon so you can get up and above teams at the same time. Really interested to see how it plays out. You see Complexity just checking left, checking right. It's like they're crossing the road at the moment, making sure there's no cars coming, but CLG do eventually go down. TSM also find themselves as the kill leaders. Imperial House starting to pop off as Horizon.
Complexity all dressed in red. Full Evo shields for them. They're making a play on this team on the right. I want to just give a second as well to shout out something that Monsoon did there. Just immediately after having stayed alive, he first thought, pop that ult cell, give us another gen so that we can take a position and not worry about grenades. Now you're going to see Monsoon trying to push up on Watson, do damage. Team Liquid, they are eliminated as well. So we're down to our final 3, and this might be a TSM looking game.
It could be. Complexity and TSM are both surrounding the team between them. You can see it's just going to be damage after damage. This is where the Fuse comes into the equation. We spoke about it right at the start of the game. What does Reps have as Fuse in these final circles? The ultimate will also be there for them as well. And TSM, they do so much damage, but still no wipe just yet.
Players managed to stabilize momentarily. TSM with that damage, though, get Reps onto red Evo. And now you're going to see Imperial Hal move in with that car to finish off Pow Pow as well. Just hiding in behind those Evo shields, or did he manage to Loba ult out of that situation? Reps now taking the high ground and doing some damage onto Complexity. TSM now all up to full red Evos.
Yeah, MPS and the last remaining player of Shubi maybe can be a little bit of a pain in the backside, but no, TSM want to take this advantage now. They get the wipe. It's a straight 3v3 with Complexity.
It's a shootout here between Complexity and TSM, but Luxford, he's got the RE45 and he's shredding away at some shields. Monsoon up on the high ground just spraying and praying, but the exchange of fire means the Shiny will be the first person to go down. TSM usually in these situations come out on top. Verhol's trying to get the finish. Reps will get a shield cell off, but here comes Luxford. This isn't done yet. How now in a position where Reps will move in, and in a crazy, crazy game here on World's Edge, win is spelled TSM.
And I love that I talk about Fuse right at the start of the game. I say, hey, we've got a couple of fuses. And you say, well, you know, TSM, they have been considering it. And suddenly we get to see it in all of its glory. We get to see why people are going to be running Fuse and why it can make a difference in these final circles. Just as Catalyst did on Storm Point, Fuse a massive help there for TSM in the final zone.
That's right. Raven, the North Dakotan coach analyst of TSM, gets his way, and they run Fuse, a seerless team composition, to absolute success. TSM fried in that lobby onset. I mean, not only did they take home the first place finish, a pure 3v3 against Complexity for the end there, they win that as well, and they get a high kill game. I'm stoked to see the standings, because I think that was at least a 12 to 15 kill game for TSM. Hal, as the kill leader, played out of his mind. Yeah, and guess what? Hal finishes game number 4 with 7 kills, 3 assists, 8 knocks, and 2.5k damage almost. A dominant game for Hal on controller, doing just the same things we're used to seeing him doing on keyboard and mouse. And TSM with a quarter of 100 points in that game. 25-point game, 13 kills for them, and a first place finish. Let's take a look at the series results. This is so interesting. I have never seen a series, and all the 3 of us have casted a lot of 6-game series of Apex. After 4 games, no one has 40 points. Yeah. Wow. Cloud9 has 0 points in game 4, is still in second with 29, between TSM and first with 36, and all the way down to Dark 0 and Team Liquid with 19 in 15th place anyone can win this tournament still. This is insane, Onset.
With 11 squads remaining, there are still so many teams in this vicinity. It is not easy whatsoever for any of these squads with the angles they could be shot from, and you can see the nervousness, the twitchiness from some of these teams. But a team who is sitting pretty right now is TSM. CLG are below them, and I think CLG are aware that TSM are there, but both teams at the moment just hugging rocks tightly, hoping that no one spots them.
TSM have no meds. This is the problem. This is why they're sat there with no shields. They have no meds. They don't have an interception pylon because they're not obviously playing Watson. So the more the chip damage is done, the more that TSM's chances of winning this game start to slip away in front of their eyes. They just have to show as little presence as they physically can and hope that CLG do not realize the situation that TSM are in. For now, Dark Zero make their play. Zero now obviously up to full red armor with those Kraber shots that he's been hitting, but CLG may be thinking about a play here onto TSM. At the moment, TSM are just climbing the mountain. The mountain goats are going up high. As Reps is maybe thinking about when he uses that ultimate as well on Fuse. For now, TSM are on this high ground. They have no meds to play with. They have no mistakes to play. They cannot charge these shields back up. Reps is ready to shoot a few arc stars and a few nades to anyone who comes near him. But TSM now in the top 5, even without meds.
It's whether they go for the split approach. It's whether Verhulst goes up into the sky and Hal and Reps, they decide to take the fight as a 2 and get aggressive rather than sending everyone up into the sky. This is going to be a very interesting decision indeed. They might all 3 of them commit to the fight as well. Very possible because of the position they're in. But they were hoping, I think, by this point, that other teams would have already lost a couple of members. But everyone is slowly paddle-footing their way into the circle and no one quite going down just yet. But now we get the action.
And now we're going to see a defensive bombardment coming as well. And now TSM from the high board land with a crash. Imperial Hell takes to the sky. 5 squads still remaining. TSM land on the high ground. CLG involved in this bubble fight towards the end game as well. CLG will pick up a few kills, but not before they are eliminated. TSM now into the top 4 as Liquid, Nocturnal find themselves at just 1 alive.
This is absolute carnage. TSM still alive right now. Get the damage. 2 squads remaining. Can you get the final kill? No, bots are able to do it in the end. TSM, they fought valiantly, but bots come in, sweep up, and a team who only had 2 right at the start of the game managed to make it back up to 3, and they do the damage in the final circle.
But TSM, I have to say that Valkyr, to get them into the position that they found themselves in for so long without any meds, with no shield cells, without being able to put damage, it was a surprise they even got to this position, Dan.
Yeah, it is a surprise. I mean, I think you've got to credit... But give credit where credit is due. When you are able to play a circle that was kind of against you in every single way, when you have to rotate via Valkyrie and you really have to take that risk, because we know what a risk it is when you take a Valkyrie ultimate into the sky as well. The fact that it paid off, I think, will be a delight for TSM fans and TSM alike.
Well, you know what's about to happen. We have one more game in front of us. What has been arguably one of the craziest days of Apex action we've seen in North America. Let me sum it up to you. TSM on World's Edge have looked superb. They're top of the leaderboards, 51 points, but there's then 5 points that separate second place all the way down to 11th, and after that it's just as close. Dan, this is a roll of the dice for so many teams. If you want to pull a rabbit out of the hat, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, I think this is the closest North America's ever been in ever. I genuinely, I think this is unreal, because usually we've got maybe 2 or 3 front runners that really take away, and then the rest of the pack are quite far behind and they're kind of competing with one another. But this, as you say, anyone could be playing for second place right now. First place still available to those teams who are just shy of 30 points, but it's going to be difficult if TSM carry on their success with how they've been playing. Their rotations have been on point. Their fights have been incredible as well. TSM looking a shoe-in for first place right now, as long as they don't make mistakes. But still, so much to play for here in match number 6.
And look like they're going to try and rotate in. We could see an ESA Furia fight break out.
Does the winner of this fight have a false sense of security, though? Do they then try and rotate around and just meet NRG? That's the question for me, as now Panda is doing some damage with the Bolt, has to back off, needs a little bit of help, as Esports Arena seem to be heading the damage here, seem to be leading this fight, but it can very quickly get flipped on your head. But no, 2 members of Furia, they go down, and ESA showing what they're made of here already in this fight.
Furia just get decimated. Nobody from Esports Arena even went down, but the zone now starting to close. Capra's already pushed up to make sure they can control the exit, and they will be safe for this next zone. So an important fight that had to be taken. And look at the kill feed. Bot's gone, BR Demon's gone, Team Smiley gone, E8 gone as well. But here is TSM up on the high ground, but Reps is taking some damage.
Damage that he can quickly get back on his shields, though. TSM had to move from the high ground they initially had, as they will try and again find a rock formation that they can try and blend in like chameleons, as they did in the previous game, but into top 10. Points secured already via placement. No kills to be seen just yet for them. But remember, this game is about survival. This game is about getting as far as they can in the game to take some of those placement points from the teams that are chasing them from second place. And now we are going to have to see whether they can find success with the current position they find themselves in.
Dark Zero still bang center zone though, controlling this building. They know that teams are going to start to encroach. They're trying to show that nobody is allowed near. They're trying to show this is a DZ building. As teams try and progress forward and take some space, but they're not being able to do so. TSM in the kill feed. Verholst has picked up one on Tophony head. Complexity also in a fight as well. Esports Arena eliminated. We're down to our top 7 and TSM are still alive.
And even though Esports Arena had so many kills, will it be enough to keep them at second? Probably not. There's a lot of teams that all they need is a good placement. As TSM, we talk about teams that are leading, we talk about placement. It's TSM who need this to stay on top. They should have done enough if they can get top 5, and they are so close to it as CLG eliminated in the 7th place. Impulse from RAKK, by the way, has been alive for so long, ratting. I don't know how he is still alive, but somehow is in the top 6.
Well, Reps is still alive as well, and he's trying not to make any noise. He wants to use every single HP of those knockdown shields before he has to make a move, and he's got a death box in front of him, which is providing him with, I'd say, cover up to his waist, but nothing more than that. And now you can see just a down body. Trying to get some information for Reps for him to survive in this endgame. Monsoon will finish off Imperial How, which means that TSM now have one player completely eliminated from this lobby. But here comes the move from Season. There's the EMP going down. That destroys defensive, and Dark Zero got to hold strong here. Season making a big play towards the endgame.
Yeah, great shot already. Mr. Hakula, who did go down earlier, gets his revenge, and now they're into the top 5, but more people come through the door. Complexity, Monsoon and Lux struggling to stay alive as everyone wants to get involved in this action.
What a hold this is from Season, by the way. Somehow they hold off all of Complexity. Having barely had any shields, they focused the fire onto that door. And 8 kills now to Mr. Hakulo. 4 squads remaining. RAKK eliminated. And they're going to be able to maybe, just for a second, stabilize and fight to live another day.
Yeah, Season going to second place with those kills and these placements. Verholst bleeds out. 4 squads now remaining, and that means that Reps is going to have to make that move eventually. And it does mean, though, that TSM are into the top 4. So Reps has found his way into Central Circle. He is pretty much guaranteeing first place for TSM in the overall standings here, but it's about what's happening elsewhere for second place as Season eventually go down to Complexity, and maybe Complexity will take it away from them.
But who's the team who's watching all of this happen? Who's the team who's on that high ground?
It's NRG!
It's NRG who leave it late. They do it for the content once more. And it's a ridiculous end to North America today. Reps from TSM is going to do a bit of damage, and that might help them out as well. He has an armor swap, and Reps is still alive as NRG make their move in, and NRG win game number 6. I cannot believe what they have just done.
NRG just pushed themselves from about 13th up to, what, 6th place with that victory? But it's TSM, it's their survivability, it's their game plan that will secure them top of the standings overall. But the bigger question mark, who finished in second place? There were so many teams who had the opportunity to do so. Season, Esports Arena, Complexity were all up there. And judging by what I saw, I would imagine it's going to be Season with how well they played, how well they held that building for so long. No one came close enough to actually challenge TSM in that first position. And again, in groups A versus B, just as we saw in week number 1, it's going to be TSM that go out on top.
What a day of action, and what a final game. Well, I mean, it was ridiculous how close it was, and of course we're going to tally up those scores and find out who is going to be taking home those final spots and where everybody does kind of shake out. But even now, the only thing you're thinking is TSM, they won today. They're going to be first place, but for everything else, it's like it could be a kill point, it could be a placement point, whatever it's going to be. It's the craziest day, I think, of Pro League I've seen in quite some time. I did not expect coming into today that we would see that level of competition, that many surprises on Storm Point, I think, as well, which really kind of threw everything in. And it doesn't really sum it up enough for me for what NRG did in that final game. They left it late, is all I'll say. They left it late. but at least they delivered.
17 points for NRG, 13 for TSM, but Season actually racking up so many kills, they technically came second in that game.
Yeah, a lot of points from them, and I have to give Reps even more credit because he managed to get second place in placements for TSM as the solo player alive. This is how things look after NA is done on match day 4. Groups A versus B, TSM on top with 64 points overall. Season in second, Esports Arena with that big game. The points mean everything, the kills mean everything, coming third. But NRG, Dan, jump up from nowhere to 6th place with a win in that final game. All right then, Dan, who you got? Let's go. Let's get into this hot today. No messing around. Who is your Monster MVP for today?
Mine is going to be Klein from Season. I was deliberating throughout the entire match 6, so I was trying to work out who on earth am I going to go with because everyone seems to be playing off their rock at the moment.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Klein certainly had a day to remember for Season, but I have to go with Reps from TSM. Usually a lot of the plaudits goes elsewhere, but I'm talking about Reps today because I think he's one of the best players that Apex Legends has ever produced. And the reason that I'm talking about him today is because on World's Edge, he plays a new legend that he hasn't got many hours on in comparison to the likes of Watson, in comparison to the likes of Gibraltar in the competitive setting, and that's where TSM came to life. Reps is the heart of TSM, in my personal opinion. He's the one that keeps them ticking. He's the one that keeps them moving. And I think in these final games, he really was certainly a standout player. Ratting his way to that second place to secure top 1 for TSM, Dan. You can't really argue against that.